Well, hello, you good people.
Hello there.
Friends. Lovers. Happy Sunday. Thank you for joining us. This is 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy. Amy Nasir. Amy Nasir. Oh, man. What a day. What a day. What a day. We're glad you are here. Glad you showed up, because we certainly got here at the very last minute. We'll talk about that, but we'll talk more about what unites us. This is going to be fun. Thank you for being here. Let me finish pulling up my social media, make sure I got everybody in the chat on the screen. We got to talk about Christmas. We got to talk about values. We got to talk about common denominators. And more than anything else, in regard to all of that, we got to talk about what unites us. This came up in the most beautiful way. And we're going to tell you all about it. But first, today is Sunday, December 17th. Sunday, December 17th. Oh, sorry. My notes are all confused here.
December
oh, my
17th.
Yes.
No, it's not. No, we're still September, right?
Yeah, we've got 8 days until Christmas. I don't know why my notes are all scattered here. Sorry, folks. I'm usually much better prepared. I've got to tell you, we just got back from the movies with the Japan team. The five of us who went to Japan earlier this year went to see the latest Miyazaki film. And it has all of the Miyazaki elements that you would want to see in a film except for a plot.
It sort of had
so
one,
weird.
Kinda.
Oh my gosh, it was weird.
It was like the Polar Express. It was like super fever dream.
Fever dream. That's a pretty apt description.
It's sort of you kind of come away not really knowing where you are or if reality is knowable and understandable.
Well, you get a lot of that with Miyazaki films, and the reason is, folks, if you know, he's a director, writer of Japanese animated films, does great movies. Name some of the movies. I draw a blank when I
Spirited Away.
Well, Spirited Away, yes. Howl's Moving Castle and My Neighbor Totoro. And great fun, great lessons in these movies. There's always all sorts of weird... no, my microphone is not centered. Let me move that over there.
Must be symmetrical.
No, well, the point is we just got back from the movies and we did a bit of a rush in the setup here. But interesting film, well done. Miyazaki's always good. It was really missing in plot this time, so I don't know if I could recommend the film wholeheartedly.
If you like to if you like to ponder coping with death and trauma,
there was some of
great.
That. Yeah.
If that's your bag.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be. You know what? Sometimes it's cathartic to do that.
Yes.
But it was.
We may need to see it again.
Heavy.
If we're going to do a proper review of it. I just want to let you know why we're running a little bit late here. But looks like we've got everybody in the chat. Looks like everything is working, so that's good. Good to see. Yeah, man, I thought my show notes are better organized than this. If you've looked at the show notes on YouTube, which you always and every time find under the description, I've got the short version there. All of the important links we're going to talk about, some stuff that you definitely do want to check out. The one thing I don't have, and I looked it up and I wrote it down and it didn't make it into my notes, is...
What you got?
Sorry, little discombobulated. So I just wanted to explain that to you. Let me go back to the beginning. Go back to the beginning of the show. Hi there, it was 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir. Thank you for joining us. Today is Sunday, December 17th. The 351st day. Oh, that's where I left off. The 351st day of the year. You know, I always tell you how many days have gone by in the year.
There's 700 days in a year, right?
I wish. So you can look back on what you've done, what you've achieved, what you've accomplished, and also consider how many days are left. Because you've got that many days left to make sure that this is your best year yet. Well, you got 14 days left. I hope it's already your best year yet. Because we're 351 days in. I didn't even know there were 351 days in a year. Something about 365, I think, is the magic number there. Except on leap years.
I'm pretty sure that Santa is he's pretty satisfied with all my virtue points.
Well, part of our story
it's pretty
today...
high this year, but...
We saw Santa last night.
Yeah, we did.
And Santa, this is at the Greenfield Village in Dearborn, Michigan. I love it because we've got a lot of people who are really into politics and current events, and as soon as they hear Dearborn, Michigan, I'm sure they think, you went to Dearborn, Michigan?
Oh my gosh, how did you survive? How did you not
get attacked by all of the Arabs? I just tell them my name is Nasir.
We can
Actually,
say that.
if I was going to do that, I would say, my name is Nasir. Except we don't pronounce it like that. Just
Nasir
funny.
Chop.
But one of the best places in the world is in Dearborn, Michigan, the Henry Ford, which includes Greenfield Village, which is presenting holiday nights, which is celebrating Christmas across 100 buildings in this beautiful historical museum. And Santa was there. And,
he was.
And the great thing is, Santa is up on a rooftop. He's actually up on a balcony.
He is.
On a home, and he's calling down to all the kids who are coming by, and he's calling them by their names.
He knows everybody's names.
It's the strangest thing. Now,
It's magic.
he does have a couple of his elves who are working down on the ground in front of the house, across the street. And parents are going to those elves and telling the elves their children's name. But how would Santa know that? He's 100 feet away. How would he do that? So he's calling down. He even said, "Oh, I see that Robert and Amy are on the nice list this year."
Yes. And he's like, good job.
Yeah.
He knows. He
knows somehow. And the reason I mention that is because every name he read, at least while we were there might have been some while we weren't there. Every name he read, he said, "Oh, Sally, she's on the nice list this year." I didn't hear anybody that was on the naughty list. Heck,
nobody was on the naughtiest because everybody that goes to Greenfield Village is extra sweet and good.
I tried my best to be on the naughty list this year, but I think Santa's criterion are a little different than mine for naughty.
I don't know. Maybe he has a lower bar this year.
I've got the chats up now, so you tell us in the chat, were you nice or naughty this year?
I just want to point out, since we're talking about Greenfield Village,
yes,
they have a print shop there with this old 1800 something or other thing that you kind of put in, you close down, you roll it under, and then it has this 500-pound press or whatever it is that you finagle with a lever that's really easy to use. It's an actual printing press, like the old kind, and
easy to use if you work there.
So they had this lovely little print here that they were making. Look at that beauty. Look at that. It's
Christopher
gorgeous.
Smith in the chat says a letter press. It's great because they do have letter presses. They have several different types of presses from the 1800s and early 1900s.
You can put in type, all that.
And the great thing is you read on the internet, all of you who are like, I know what lowercase means. I know what uppercase means because I read the meme. Well, they actually have the lowercase there. A case for holding all of the elements with the lowercase letters, and an uppercase which holds all of the capital letters. So
they even have
we got to see all that.
The old-fashioned long second S.
Yeah.
They use. It looks like an F, but it's an S.
Now,
that's coming through.
I mentioned the Greenfield Village Historical Museum because it relates to Santa thinking everybody was nice this year. I'm going to bring it up again a little bit later. But real quick, it is December 17th. December 17th. What happened on December 17th? Well, one of the places we went to in Greenfield Village was the Wright Brothers Bicycle Shop.
Yes.
Now, some of you who know the history are thinking, well, the Wright Bicycle Shop, that's in Ohio, man. Well, it used to be in Ohio, man, but no, Henry Ford packed it up and brought it to Greenfield Village.
He was friends with Orville Wright. Wilbur Wright had died at the age of 40, and unfortunately, but his brother Orville, they were good friends, and he brought their home and their bicycle shop up to Dearborn, Michigan, because Henry Ford wanted to put it together as a collection, and I'm so happy that he did. So,
speaking of Orville Wright, a trivia question for you. When the Wright brothers flew the very first powered flight, who was on the airplane, Wilbur or Orville? And it was the guy that Henry Ford worked with to bring the home from Ohio to Dearborn, Michigan. It was Orville Wright. The first successful flight in the history of a self-propelled, heavier-than-air aircraft. We've talked about this before. There were hot air balloons before this. This was the landmark because it was heavier-than-air flight, powered flight, and it changed everything, even though the airplane only stayed in the air for 12 seconds that time. That was enough to prove, yes, it can be done.
Orville was the one who was at the controls
Yes.
when they went, I don't know, 265 feet or whatever it was.
120 in the first
120?
flight.
120, okay. That's right, 120. But the first person to actually fly above a major metropolitan city was Wilbur, and that city was
What was it?
Paris.
Paris.
Wonderful. Can you imagine being in Paris? And I mean, you see the first airplane. I mean, I just get chills when I think of that. It's beautiful.
Yes. And Apollo Zeus actually says the year that it happened. Why did I bring it up today? Well, we mentioned Greenfield Village. Where the bicycle shop, where they built the first airplane, is their home. Their house is actually there as well. The Wright home. Beautiful place to visit, and it's all decked out for Christmas right now. But why do I bring it up? Today is the day. In fact, it's the 120th anniversary today, December 17th, of that day in 1903 when the Wright brothers flew that first airplane. Two other things about today. One, it is the Festival of Winter Walks. You know, we went to Greenfield Village, as I say, this weekend. There's no snow. I want to see the snow. I want a winter walk. I love the winter weather, so the two of us can get together.
There's a great version by Fats Waller, Winter Weather.
Me singing it isn't good enough? No, Fats Waller is great.
Fats Waller. Highly recommend.
Yes. Celebrate the Festival of Winter Walks with us. We'll talk about that as we go along. We want you out there. We want you in the streets. We want you shaking hands. We want you looking people in the eye. We want you finding those things that unite us. But also, today is the first day of Saturnalia.
Oh, Saturnalia.
Yes.
Okay. Great.
The Roman festival and holiday held to celebrate the agricultural god Saturn. Well, I'm good with that. You know, it is believed among certain people, I happen to be one of them, that Saturnalia was already celebrating the coming of the winter solstice. It's just going to get colder from here on out, but at least when we hit that winter solstice, December 21st, I think, this year, sometimes it's the 22nd, the days are going to start getting longer again. I'm getting so tired of it being dark at 4:30 in the afternoon. So that is coming, even though cold is coming too. Today we do celebrate the first day of Saturnalia, and again, a lot of us.
I think I'm going to vote you in as the king of the Saturnalia.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
And you can preside over the merrymaking.
I will be the king of the festival. We already did Glow Christmas, but we've got more Christmas coming. I know all of you out there too. Folks have been sharing some great Christmas celebrations, what you've been doing for the holidays. I heartily encourage you to keep doing that. It warms the heart of us, even if I don't have time to, write something back to you. When you see those likes, trust me, you're having an effect out there. You're spreading the joy, the goodwill, the peace on earth, all that good stuff.
And give this beautiful baby a like.
This is
this was a boxed
prefab, but still a real gingerbread house.
It's a shop, so it's commercial. You've got some capitalist gingerbread men there.
Can we eat that?
You could if you really wanted
to. we usually leave them out for the holidays, but then after the holidays, and I did this one. I think I did this.
Got a security light on the back there.
I forget if did I do this on 5 minutes or did I just do it as a Facebook Live video? I actually tried eating one of our candy houses.
Oh, right, yeah.
But I did it in January after it had been out as a decoration for weeks.
Delicious.
It tasted about the way you would expect a candy house to taste after it's been sitting on a coffee table for 4 weeks.
So I got to give a shout out to Jennifer, and because she's actually she helped me make this beautiful gingerbread capitalist shop of goods.
I am glad that you mentioned Jennifer, not only because Jennifer, everybody in the objectivist community knows Jennifer Lionberger is super awesome, but also this is a reminder that we can't go too long today.
Oh.
Because we can go a maximum of 12 times longer than we're supposed to. We got to wrap up by the top of the hour because Yara and Brooke's doing a show. And Jennifer, of course, will be participating in that because it's a members-only show. If you're not already members of Yara and Brooke's channel, get on that. Fix that. It requires a little money, but it's worth it. So we will definitely try not to go too long. And that means I'm going to jump right from Saturnalia
to Christopher Smith in the chat on YouTube, who says, meow.
Oh, right. You've got Crookshanks on.
Crookshanks.
Yeah,
Crookshanks.
Even though you and Lily were kind of disrespecting the Warner Brothers Harry Potter movies.
Oh.
But that's not Crookshanks from the books. That's Crookshanks from the movies. I liked the movies. I know they could have been better.
Yeah,
I know there's a series coming that will probably be better. I liked them.
I need to write J.K. Rowling and just say, hey, you know what? You need to write a book about Crookshanks because I want to know more.
Huh.
I mean, Crookshanks' relationship with Sirius as the
Not my favorite character.
as the dog.
Crookshanks is not my favorite. I'm not a cat person.
I like Crookshanks a lot.
And Crookshanks is the stereotypical unpleasant cat.
No. This is an intelligent cat. This is this is more than a cat. This was a creature that was sentient.
Guess I have to read the books again.
And cognitive and everything, except it couldn't talk, unfortunately. But
I don't know.
I bet if you gave it like a pencil or a pen, it could actually write, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
Maybe you're right. Anyway, great shirt. Great fun. Thank you, Christopher, in the chat for that. Equal to Reality says Yaren is live now. That can't be right. I mean, Equal to Reality knows what he's talking about, but I don't know why that would be. Well, thank you to those of you who are watching us and who are commenting in the chat.
Yeah.
Some of you may be multitasking. I've certainly been known to do that when Yaren conflicts with the ARC UK shows. But if you're watching this after the fact, that's cool too. Of course, we get more views after the... It's strange to me. I love watching things live, but I love that y'all watch this afterward as well. So, real quick, 4 birthdays to celebrate. I'm just going to read them off real quick. I think they're all, 1 musician and 3 actors, just because I want to recommend their stuff and say happy birthday. Eugene Levy is 76 years old today. Never was a big Eugene Levy fan, not my style of humor, but because he shows up in the film Serendipity, which is a Christmas film, or at least begins and ends on Christmas,
Yes.
I'm going to say huge shout out, Eugene Levy, 76 years old. You go, don't ever stop. And folks, if you've never seen the film Serendipity, now's your opportunity. You've got to see that John Cusack film. Super great. Happy birthday to Paul Rogers, of course, of Bad Company and The Firm and All Right Now, Free. I know the song better than I know the band. One Hit Wonder, Free. All Right Now. Paul Rogers is awesome. Toured with Queen. Very few singers can take on the job that Freddie Mercury left behind. Paul Rogers is up for it, and he celebrates his birthday today. My favorite song by The Firm, incidentally, an obscure one called Satisfaction Guaranteed. I've linked to it in the description in the show notes. Les Paul shows up in that video as the bartender.
Oh, nice.
Look for that, you guitar players. You will appreciate that. Of course, The Firm is also Jimmy Page on guitar. Pretty hard to beat there. Sarah Paulson is 48 years old today. Funny person. I like her because she shows up in, now tip of my tongue, I'm going to have to go back to my notes. Why do I lose things like this? As I am talking, where does Sarah Paulson show up? Oh, Down with Love. That's what it was.
Right.
Double check my notes. Yeah, she was in Down with Love. And of course, you Firefly fans know she also shows up in the film Serenity.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not going to do any spoilers, but she shows up as the doctor on the planet. I'll just say that much. So happy birthday, Sarah Paulson, 48 years old today. And one more, 48 years old today as well, is Mila Jovovich, which, of course, you know as... I know everybody's thinking, The Fifth Element.
Not sure.
Multipass. But also, she shows up in Zoolander.
Oh.
Yes,
Wait, what did she
the
play?
Russian dominatrix who assists in programming Derek Zoolander. So happy 48th birthday to both Sarah and Mila.
Obey my
dog. Love that film. It's so sad that they made a sequel to it. It couldn't live up to it. Mm-hmm. But yes, real quick then, that's it. That's all I'm going to do for this day. I did all the holidays, did all the things, all you need to know that's going to tie in with the final point that we're going to make. And so I'm going to go right to what are we watching this week? The only show that I participated in this week was an episode of the reality show entitled Bernie Sanders Defends Israel's Right to Self-Defense. Bernie Sanders did something good. What do you mean Bernie Sanders did something good?
Well, he wears mittens. That's very responsible.
I am asking once again for your support.
He has a favorite deodorant, just one kind.
Well, he's angry that there are choices. Capitalism gives us 23 brands of deodorant while there's all these problems in the world. Look, he said the right thing. He supported Israel. I got to give him props.
Yeah,
Link to that is in the show description. If you want to hear me and the panel of, well, there's only a few of us actually that day talking about that, and I thought I made some brilliant points. They even made a short out of it on the Ayn Rand Center UK channel, which I didn't link to, but you can find it when you go to the reality show. The other links that I put up the other links that I put up, Linda Cordair of Quent Cordair Fine Art, CORDAIR.com. Linda Cordair shared on the social media this morning, those Facebooks, a commercial, a Christmas commercial, a super charming commercial, and I've linked to it. The version that I've linked to, the title on YouTube says, "Best Christmas Ad Ever, but Will You Cry?" And Linda implied in her Facebook post that, yes, of course you will cry. I must have got something in my eye. Somebody hand me a Kleenex. Who's chopping onions? It's that kind of commercial. I've seen this. It is super sweet.
Yeah, I'm seeing it right now. Nice.
It is adorable. And boom, it gets you right in the feels. And so I've also linked to another video which compiles some of these greatest commercials ever. And that's where we find some of the greatest stuff, some of the greatest common values between us, is in these kinds of amazing television commercials. It's funny to watch like Paperman, the short from Disney Pixar that came before the film Up. This is the paper airplane one. The guy stuck at work doing paperwork, going through papers, makes paper airplane. It's better than most of the movies you watch. Think of the opening montage to the film Up. That first 5-minute, 10-minute sequence at the beginning is more memorable than the whole film that comes after it. I love this because, and I'll get to the point, we did go to Greenfield Village this weekend. And we had a particularly challenging time before getting there. So we weren't in the most festive mood.
It took a while for me to get back on track. But I immediately went to Tony, our friend.
Now, we've mentioned Tony before. Tony is an actor, and he works at Greenfield Village doing presentations.
Yeah.
And the ones he does most often, he does a lot of different things. But the two that he does most often, for Halloween, he reads from memory. He recites The Telltale Heart from Edgar Allan Poe. And for Christmas, he recites out loud and from memory, and with great voices, the poem Samuel Coleridge Taylor's A Visit from St. Nicholas.
Samuel Clemens More.
Clemens More. Oh, Mark Twain. No, not Mark Twain.
Yeah, we got that right. Anyway, go ahead.
So most of you would know the poem not as A Visit from St. Nicholas, but by the first line, which is, "'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse." And he will read it much more dramatically than that. And Tony's the best guy you want to meet.
He is just absolutely astounding. He just is so good.
So we got there in between his readings. He was not reading the poem. And so we had a chance to chat with him.
And I was in a state.
And Amy was in a state.
Happy. I was in a, as Ayn Rand would say, out of sorts.
Yes, you were out of sorts. And Tony just lights up when he sees Amy. So glad to see you. And he said more than that. He said, he explained that I see your Facebook posts. And he's an older guy. So he says, well, I'm on there. I don't really post myself, but I read what you write, and I really appreciate it. And so that got him and Amy talking.
And this was one of these things where sometimes I don't have. I'm friends with some of my coworkers, and sometimes I post things, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and suppress this from this group of people that
be careful what you write and who's going to see it. And
I give Tony everything because he knows me, and
let me just say this because I really want to make this point. We don't know Tony's politics. I don't know his explicit philosophy. All I know is that he's a deeply, richly good person.
Yes.
With a real generosity of spirit, but also a real joie de vivre, a real lust for life.
He's got a twinkle in his eye.
He has
many twinkles in his eyes.
And he says to Amy, I don't write on Facebook, I don't engage much, but I want you to know that I read the things you write and what you've been writing lately. in regard to world events,
with regard to Israel,
has really meant a lot.
And been very helpful to my understanding. And I'm like,
well, she wasn't crying yet, but then he said, and here's the point I want to get to. He said, because we expressed back and forth how hard times are, he said, but there's so much more that unites us. There's so much more that we have in common.
Oh, God.
Now I know that. You've heard me say that before. You've heard us make that point philosophically, but to hear somebody, again, that we just know through the village, through the museum.
And a little bit of background. Tony is a extraordinary person. And what I mean by that is that he is of the kind of Martin Luther King Jr. civil rights sort of colorblindness, thinking of the racial relations and everything like that. He's African American. He's a Black American, and he's performed. Martin Luther King. He's dramatized that character for people. He has dramatized just amazing Black Americans throughout history, including Elijah McCoy. I mean, and boy, oh boy, he is such an individualist, and he sees the best in people, black, white, whatever it is, and whatever background, he sees the best in people. And I am very grateful to call him a friend and to work with him. And anyway, it was very tearful after I give him my second hug of the evening, and because he told me exactly what I needed to hear, and he gave me that kind of spiritual fuel that you could only get from certain people, and it was so beautiful. And so thank you, Tony.
And again, I'm going to make the point, we don't know Tony philosophically, we don't know him politically, we don't know him from the great lectures and things we've gone to. We just know him as a deeply good person. And
yes.
This was true of so many events this week, and throughout the year, throughout life. On the way home from the movie that we have given a bit of a thrashing to, but Amy was considering what we were going to talk about tonight. She saw my title and said, "Well, what unites us?" And I said, "Well, we're bilaterally symmetrical." This is not true of all animals, by the way. We have a left and a right, and they match. And there are some things we only have one of. The heart's a little off to one side, and the stomach only goes one way.
The liver's a little over.
But this is true of everybody, unless they're missing a limb or something's going on.
We have symmetrical kidneys, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, because you could donate one and live through it. And we'll talk about Scott Alexander one of these days and his craze. But Yaron already did that show, and he did a pretty good job with it. Folks, don't give away your kidneys unless you have a really good reason to do it, okay? I know it's Christmas. Everybody wants to be generous, but...
we all have spleens, whatever they do.
We have spleens. Now, those aren't bilateral. We only have one.
Right.
And one appendix. So, yeah, some things we only have one of. Point is, we all have two hands. We all have two... Again, if something's happened, I get it. We all have two eyes. We all have two ears. We all are bipedal. We walk on 2 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Body stuff.
We all have the largest organ that everybody has.
What's your largest organ?
The skin.
The skin. I was going to say my brain, but you're right. Our skin is our largest and by mass largest organ.
I'm very grateful to have that, have a covering over everything else to keep everything in.
It's one of the areas I disagree with Yaron Brook about, because he says there's no such thing as race. I think race is something trivial, but it's also fun. I love that there are different skin colors. I love that there are different facial styles.
Yeah.
And yes, none of them are essential. None of them are important. And Yaron's right to say race isn't even real. I think it is, but I understand what he's saying, and it's an important point. So yeah, we're all human bodies. We're all, and more than that, think of our minds. We're all conceptual. In other words, not just we communicate in words, we think in words. We think in language. Mm-hmm. All of us, everybody, barring, unfortunately, the mentally disabled or somebody in a terrible situation, we all think in words. We all function via concepts.
We all have an emotional mechanism to
We
want
all
to
have
some
an-
extent or another.
We do. We react viscerally
Yeah.
to the things that help us or hurt us.
We
But-
have mind-body integration, which
Well-
is I should say, you start out with it. Of course, you have to work at it to keep it.
So
But yeah,
So here's another thing. We all eat food. We all drink. And we have to eat and we have to drink and we have to do it regularly. We all breathe. We take in air and then we exhale. We all move. We all have to create things. We have to produce. We have to put shelter. Point is, I said all of this. Well, those are common denominators, but what unites us? Well, because we all have bodies that work in the way that they do, what unites us is the way in which we can help one another through that. We can make clothing for one another. We can build hospitals to help one another when things go wrong. We can have doctors, we can have nurses, and we can have competitions, and we can engage, and we can be parts of teams. But what about food? Well, what is food? What unites us about food? We can break bread together. We can have meals together. We can go to restaurants together. We can cook for one another. What about our faculty of language, our conceptual faculty? Well, besides for thought, which is the primary purpose of language, the secondary purpose of language is communication. We can engage. We can reach out. We can reach one another. We can sing to one another. We can write poetry to one another. We can send communications. And we can build large language models which become artificial intelligence that creates massive values for one another. In other words, and here's my point, almost everything about us unites us. Now, some of our broadest abstractions are politics, the way we organize our societies, the way we deal with one another, the way we handle our friends, the way we manage each other. That can divide us. But what's the common denominator in one word? I could leave it for a minute and see if somebody puts it in the chat. Sam Heyer says, unites us is unity. Well, that's a little circular.
yeah.
I get the idea of wanting to be unified.
So you're talking about a political concept?
No.
Oh.
I'm talking about a philosophical concept that takes all of these different, not just commonalities, but ways in which we are united. What is the overarching concept that names all of it?
Isn't it in what you just said?
The answer is one word, and that is values.
Oh, values.
We are united by our values. We are, now somebody's going to right away say, oh, but a lot of us have different values. And you'd be absolutely right to say that. But we all need food. We all need shelter. Yeah, but that's easy. That's obvious. That's kind of low
Yeah,
level.
I was going to say that what unites us is our being able to be conceptual.
We all need concepts. We all need language. We all need a way to relate to one another through words. And yes, that is a crucial value.
Yeah,
Language
and that's
is an enormous
fundamental
value.
to having the kinds of human values that we have.
Right.
Yep.
But in terms of what unites us, not just the common denominators, but what about those common denominators brings us together?
Yes.
And it's values. We need values. And those values bring us together. None of us are living on a deserted or even a desert island. It is precisely because we can trade values, we can exchange values, we can give values, we can offer values. We are united. Now, wait a minute. This is making it sound all peace and love and everybody's the same, but there's conflict. In fact, there's murderous conflict out there. And my point is, at this Christmas time of year, there are murderous conflicts out there. There are reasons why somebody like Tony finds it so heartening to hear Amy speak so cogently and so bravely about the situation in the Middle East, because those conflicts are possible. But also the reason why somebody who, like Tony, who's not, for example, necessarily of our philosophy, he may have a different ideology, he may have a particular religion, he may have a whole different lifestyle. The reason why we have that common denominator is because, and some folks will bristle at this, but even the people you think have the opposite philosophy than you, most of us have far more in common than we do that which separates us. And knowing that that's true, not only can you navigate life, you can navigate the holiday season and get the maximum amount of joy, of goodwill, the maximum amount of value out of it. I think it's crucially important to realize that you and me and almost everybody out there, we are 98% the exact same thing.
And that brings us to what kind of, I think this kind of inspired this topic, which is Warren Fahey.
What did Warren Fahey, Casey Fay,
yeah,
Warren
Casey
Fahey, the author, Warren Fahey, of books like Magenta, the novelist,
yes,
and best friend of James Valiant.
And co-author of Creating Christ with James Valiant.
Co-author of Creating Christ.
James Valiant.
So what did Warren Fahey write?
So he posted this, if there's any one thing all my books say, it's love humanity.
Love humanity.
We are where it's at. I love that. Don't join the goblins who hate themselves and all the rest of us too. Without our human eyes and ears, there are no rainbows or symphonies. Without our human minds, there is no past or future or history or heritage or hopes or purposes. Without our human hearts, there is no romance, no poetry, and no art. Though all 8 billion of us could fit inside Rhode Island, we managed to send spacecraft outside of our solar system and walk on the moon. We are the treasures that values everything around us, if we choose to. So, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and remember, without us, none of that matters. So lift a flagon and toast humanity this holiday season, the rarest collections of atoms the universe has ever made. You know, when I think of being a human being, you know, unlike, you know, not like I can say, well, as opposed to, but when I think of just existing, and here I am living still, it's really amazing to me because it is so unique, so unprecedented. I mean, I don't know how unprecedented it is in the universe, but from what we understand, it is, and it's something extremely special. We have something extremely special, and being a human being is where it's at. And having that conceptual faculty and the and volition, especially making choices, understanding what we like and what we dislike, what really brings us joy and what doesn't, the purposes that we get the most meaning out of life from, that is where it's at. So thank you, Mr. Fahey.
So let me wrap up with a gift for you. Actually, we already gave you that gift. We did an episode of Life on Earth with Robert and Amy Nasir called A Gift for You. And that gift was presented in several different forms and formats, and you should watch that episode. A moral sanction. The reminder that your life is an end in itself. But at this time of year, you can universalize that. The world has so much to offer you. The reason why I like to mention this day in history, or holidays today, or people who are celebrating birthdays is precisely because people like Wilbur and Orville Wright took us from walking to flying. People like Paul Rogers, Jimmy Page, and 100,000 musicians out there have put music in our lives. Actors and actresses like Eugene Levy and Sarah Paulson and Mila Jovovich, They have given us stories and entertainment for the cost of, well, nowadays you go on the internet and watch for virtually nothing. At any given moment, we can be entertained, and we can be fed, and we can be amused, and we can be distracted, and we can be charmed by television commercials that tug at our hearts so much our eyes start leaking. We are surrounded by this stuff, what I like to call miracles. We are surrounded by miracles. And that is what I wish for you this holiday season, is for you to really feel that, for you to really enjoy that, for you to really selfishly and greedily take it in and also give it out. Engage with people. You deserve to engage with people. When you see people in the street, look them in the eye. Give them a hearty Merry Christmas.
We do have some questions in the chat. I don't
Good.
know if we have
What do we have
time.
in the chat? Oh, I wrapped up early. We're done. But we have 15 minutes left before we conflict with the 7 o'clock show. I guess Yaron must be doing more than one.
No, I don't think he's on. I looked, and I know maybe my YouTube is not
Okay, maybe that was
correct, but it doesn't look like he's on.
Good. Good, because
So
we'll catch him at 7. So, what do we got in the chat?
So Stephen has a few questions,
Good.
and by the way, congratulations, Stephen, on your new friends that you've made.
Good.
I'll just say that. And so he says, what do you think of the song, The Future's So Bright, I Gotta Wear Shades?
It's very clever, very lighthearted.
And do you have a long list of songs with such a positive message as that one?
Question.
Yeah, it's a good question.
I'll have to look. I've shared my own personal playlist of the songs that are most important to me. If you look up Robert Nasir important songs, you'll find it. But as far as songs that actually have that specific positive attitude,
well, I can definitely put together a list of Christmas songs or holiday songs.
That's true. Most of our Christmas list has that.
That are amazing.
And my our Christmas playlist is already on my YouTube channel. If you look under playlists.
That's very, very
But
true.
that's a great question. Remind me I'll look that up maybe tonight.
I'll do that.
Rock
and roll songs or whatever.
Because there's a bunch of them, but they're just not springing to mind right off the bat.
Oh, here's a one for maybe a longer answer for next time. How do we define objectivist? Can anyone self-select that title?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've done a whole show on it.
Yeah, we did.
How you should be able to summarize My version is 4 words. And the meme has gone around before. What's the shortest number of words you can describe your philosophy in? Objectivism is think rationally, act accordingly.
Yes.
Now, people will protest right away. That doesn't really get at it at all. And you're right, it doesn't get at it at all, because it can't be done that way. Ayn Rand did a version of objectivism standing on one foot, and she gave it, and you can look it up online. I don't have it memorized because it's a little long. But she made the point right there that, well, this would lead to all sorts of questions, and that's why you can't discuss philosophy while standing on one foot. So that's why I have a standing on one foot version. Think rationally, act accordingly. And yes, I understand that's not the whole philosophy.
Yes. So, what else? What else we have here? Do you disagree? This is funny. Do you disagree that all people are similar to cats in many ways?
All people are similar to cats in many ways?
Yeah, that unites us.
It's funny because if you look at our DNA, most of our DNA we have in common with cats.
Well, we also have with mice and,
that's true too.
Chimpanzees.
I was trying to sneak in, some. Then my answer is no. No, we have nothing in common with cats. Cats give selfishness a bad name.
Yeah, I mean, cats are. They're okay. I mean, they're nice. It depends on the cat.
Depends on the cat. Some cats are great. Some cats really are great.
amazing.
They have enormous. They have that combination of zen. That very self-aware, and yet they can be very loving. Yeah, it depends on the cat.
Some
That's
can
the answer.
Very,
depends
very
on
loving.
the cat.
And I mean, I would say.
But cats per se, no, I've got to say bunnies are the best.
Bunnies are the best.
Yeah.
Bunnies are the ones that are going to, after chimpanzees, they are going to be the next in line to become sentient and volitional and conceptual.
Yes.
Just FYI. Watch out for that.
It's funny. There's a comment in the chat on the Facebook side of things that I would think would be absolutely not fit in this conversation, but it turns out it does. For all the benevolence we're talking about, all the joy, all the positivity, all the things we have in common, all the Christmas thoughts, Jim Ashley writes, well, this is going to sound funny. Yes, it is, Jim. But there is a scene in Deliverance, of all movies,
which we have never seen,
that demonstrates that people from extremely disparate walks of life can still find something that unites them. It's a wonderful scene in the first 15 minutes in which 4 men from the city, Atlanta, stop for gas at a station in Appalachia. There, they hear a young boy playing the banjo, and quite well. One of the men breaks out his guitar, and a duet ensues, the famous dueling banjos scene. The people working there and the 4 outsiders begin dancing and enjoying the music. 2 different groups of people united through music. United through music. You're absolutely right, Jim. Dueling banjos is one of the most charming instrumental pieces of music ever. It's always been strange to me, knowing the premise of the film Deliverance, that song is so associated with that film. But you're right. You're right. On its own merits, it is a joyous piece of music, very charming. It's funny, they call it dueling, but they're really what we in the business would call trading licks, not dueling. It's just super charming and benevolent.
Yes, but yeah, we haven't actually seen that. Oh, also,
we have not seen the film. No.
Stephen asks if we have ever seen the movie Walk the Line, and I believe that's the one with the Johnny Cash.
Yeah, we have not seen Walk the Line.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we ever will. So a lot of times those, for me anyway. If I want to know that I want to enjoy the music, and I don't want to have any association to how a particular musician actually lived their life. I don't know. Maybe there might be an exception to that, but a lot of musicians get into trouble. They live not the most ideal lives, and that's something that it might be interesting. I don't know that much about Johnny Cash. I really don't.
Yeah, no, we haven't seen the film. Maybe we will someday. Yep. Good.
Oh, and by the way, hello, James, who's in the chat on Facebook.
James says, "Attention, Warren Fahey. They're reading your stuff and they're not paying you royalties or copyright on it." No, that's true. But to be honest, I did look to make sure it was a public post before, we went ahead and Amy went ahead and read it.
Yeah. Oh, and I also before we go, I just want to make sure that I mention. So just for the record of history, I think I'm the only one who's ever came up with this concept, but I made a new beautiful Christmas tree ornament.
That looks like mistletoe, except it's knitted, it's crocheted.
Yeah, it's crocheted mistletoe.
Okay.
With a little bow, and then the little berries, which are little pearls, which are really cute.
So why does it look like a mirror?
So you open it up, it's a mirror.
A mirror.
So it's a self-love, selfishness mistletoe, and you can give yourself a big kiss.
So a few of the most special people have received this as a gift already this year.
Yes.
Might be a bit of a spoiler because a couple people might still get one.
I don't know. We'll see.
But
anyway, if I do have some more supplies for these, if anybody wants me to send them one, if you want to go to the PayPal for us for robertnasir.com.
That's true. robertnasir.com. There is a PayPal link.
Send us $20.
How much do you want? $20.
And that'll include just regular shipping. And I will send it to you. So this is great for, of course, for the holidays and for the new year and for any time. You can hang it up year round, and it'll be a nice reminder to yourself to give yourself a little self-love, take good care of yourself, be selfish, really, really understand what your values are and go after them, and be kind and gentle and loving to yourself. Give yourself a big kiss.
All right. Excellent. I'm just double checking the chat, make sure we don't miss anything before we put a ribbon on this package. James says that Warren would appreciate the mention. Well, As we say, Warren is an author, a novelist. His first big book was Fragment, but the recent one, Magenta, I know is one he wants everybody to read now. Mm-hmm. And you look him up on Amazon, you'll find a whole bunch of books by Warren Fahey. And again, as you said, the co-author of Creating Christ, which is making the rounds big time and getting all of the attention that it deserves. So that's good. All right. Anything else in the chat before we wrap up?
I think we're good, I think.
We have one more Sunday before Christmas. Now, we'll see. We'll see if we do our regular Sunday show, because it is Christmas Eve.
Oh, yes.
It would be so much fun to do a show on Christmas Eve if our schedule doesn't conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We always say it's going to be a short one. We'll see how that goes. Folks, 8 days before Christmas, we hope you are feeling the season. Hope you're feeling it in the bones. We're loving it here at Camp Nasir, and it is good. And we're glad you're here. Glad you watched. We're going to let you go. We have a few minutes before the top of the hour, and Yaron Brook does his thing. All I want to do is wrap up by saying, if you have any ideas for future shows, the end of the year is coming up. We're planning out 2024. Leave the comments in the chat or in the Facebook group, 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir. If you want to support the show, as Amy brought up, we do have PayPal and Patreon links at robertnasir.com. Thank you to those of you who are monthly contributors to the show who help keep the lights on here at Studio Nasir. Very much appreciate it. And to all of you, we wish you all of the success that you so richly deserve. We wish you love in whatever flavors it is you most want to experience it. I know that you deserve that as well. And especially for the season, we wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. And a Happy New Year. A new beer, a new something. Folks, thank you so much. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.